Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County for Wednesday, April 24th, 2019. I am the Nighthawk, along with our studio director, Zach, and on the panel, just by his lonesome self, the Duke is still on vacation in South Carolina, and he'll be back next week. So Super Dave Handy is here with me, and matter-of-factly, this will be our last time you and I do a show together.
Because you'll be leaving.
I'm leaving for vacation tomorrow, and I'll be gone the next 2 Wednesdays. And when I get back on the 15th, you'll already be engulfed in your Wednesday night men's Twilight Golf League until sometime in September. So I'm going to cherish these next 89 minutes.
And actually, I'll be on the 15th. I have a dealer meeting in Detroit. So
right. And I think your first night of golf is
the
8th.
The 8th. So.
Right. Okay. So you'll get a couple weeks with the Duke.
Well, unless, of course, if we had a night like tonight, I could certainly do it.
And gee willikers, at this time, the previous 3 nights, I have been golfing. I never golf 3 evenings in a row. Just doesn't happen. And the back's a little sore, but just unbelievable weather. Temps in the mid to high 60s.
Oh, it was gorgeous yesterday. Yesterday was beautiful.
It did rain on me later in the evening. My golf partner goes, "It's supposed to rain?" I go, "Well, not tonight, but I know
it did.
Tomorrow." And about 30 seconds later, it starts to rain.
It did.
But the course is wet, and that's why they don't allow golf carts on. So you pretty much have it to yourself. But I don't know how these guys do it. The course is in great shape.
It is.
It's not like we've had a great spring. And they had the greens cut. When I golfed on Sunday, the greens were extremely lush, where you really had to jettison the ball. And I was leaving everything 8 feet short. But yesterday, they had nice cut and little acceleration on it. So it was great to be out there. And you just felt like, yeah, winter's over and all that. And I always say when the temp right now is around 43 and rain, I'd rather have it 20 below zero. Then I just don't like, David, it's going.
It's so miserable right now.
It is. It goes right through me. And I guess tomorrow's supposed to be a decent day, but a lot of rain after the fact.
Well, our weather really doesn't clear up until after the Maple Festival. That's the local adage.
So, David, if you notice the monitor, or you can look at me, I've got my giant scarf on. And tomorrow night is one of the great nights of the year.
The NFL Draft.
I'm flying into Fort Lauderdale at 5:30, take off out of Burlington. And I told my wife that, I said, Donna, when we're down in Fort Lauderdale, we'll have a kind of an early supper. I need to be back at the hotel for 8. And she goes, oh, why the rush? I go, you're kidding me, right? It's the NFL first round draft. And being a bad team and being in the 6th position, and I think, David, the theme tomorrow night is going to be trades, lots of trades.
So had one yesterday. Was it the Seahawks and
the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Seahawks traded defensive end Frank Clark, the 20
for a couple of second-round picks, maybe?
Okay, the Seahawks traded them to the Chiefs, and they got, or did the Chiefs? No, the Chiefs traded them to the Seahawks. Well, I'm confused. Who did Frank Clark play for?
I don't know.
I don't. But anyways, the 29th overall pick did exchange hands there. So now when the Giants pick, I've been telling you all winter, like Montez Sweat or Rashawn Gary. I changed my mind. Okay, so the Giants pick tomorrow night, David, will be Devin White, linebacker out of LSU.
I read some stuff on him. He's really come up the draft board.
Yeah, and Rashawn Gary, the problem with him is he's a super athlete, but his production at Michigan didn't really have the numbers. And this Montez Sweat, another great athlete out of Mississippi State, he's got a irregular heartbeat, and I think he'll slide down the board probably an additional 10 slots because I think some teams are leery of taking him in the top 10 with a bad ticker. And somebody will take a flyer at him, in the late teens.
There's a lot of talk today about Josh Rosen, and that if the Cardinals take Kyler Murray, or is
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray, which that looks like it's almost
A done deal.
a done deal. So Rosen, and this guy that I read this morning said that there's the Giants will be lucky to get him with the 17th pick because he thinks that if Rosen were in the draft today,
Right.
he'd be the number one quarterback.
Right. Now, Rosen last year was picked 10th overall out of UCLA. by
And they had
Arizona.
moved up in the draft to get him.
Yeah. Now, the scuttlebutt rumors was the Giants' second round pick, 37th overall. The Giants might be interested in trading that pick to get Rosen, which I would not have any issues with. Second pick for the Giants, I kind of half expect Daniel Jones, the quarterback, I think they really want out of Duke to be there at the 17th slot. I think Denver will they're kind of in love with Drew Lock out of Missouri. So I think Elway will take him.
I don't see the Giants taking a quarterback in the first round.
Okay.
I see them taking Beef, either an offensive tackle or they need playmakers on defense.
Right. And my backup pick for the 17th overall would be Beef. He might go a couple picks earlier. This Jonah Williams out of Alabama we've talked about, tackle. And if he's not there, Cody Ford, guard out of Oklahoma, highly regarded player, will be there. Now, Dwayne Haskins, okay, he's been talked about all winter. I don't think the Giants are enamored with him. I think they like Daniel Jones better. But I really don't know. And I sit before you, usually I like to think I know what I'm talking about, but right now I'm just making a guesstimation here.
Well, Gettleman's hard to figure because I think there's a lot of, for lack of a better word, lying going on.
Yeah. It's okay. No, that was a very well chosen.
I was going to say obfuscation.
Okay.
But nobody's really playing their hands. They're all pretty close to the vest, and only God knows what's going to happen. Oops, we got a caller.
Okay. Here we go. Good evening. You're the first caller tonight on the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County. Hello.
Hey guys, how are we doing tonight?
Greetings, caller.
Good. Beautiful night.
Good. Question there with the draft. Rosen, if Kyle Murray goes, I imagine Rosen expects to be a starter, and he should be wherever he goes. I don't think that would be tempting for the Giants at all. I mean, Manning's going to be playing regardless, and I don't think Rosen is one to sit the bench. So I don't think he's even a factor with the Giants. I mean, if somebody grabs him, I do believe that he will be expected to play right off. He's played last year. He's seasoned a little bit. He's got, some games under his belt, and he's certainly not at the point in his career where he's got to hold the clipboard for a year. But question, say this has all been a smokescreen, this Kyle Murray, and like Nick Bosso goes number one, which actually was thought to be until a month or two ago. But Kyle Murray, I think, would take a big slide after that. Mm-hmm. I don't know who would grab him when. Do you feel the Giants would make a move at this kid, say, at 6 or at number 17?
No.
And have him hold the clipboard for a year?
Yeah, I the only rumor I have at that number one pick that somebody might move up would be Oakland. John Gruden likes this Kyler Murray quite a bit. But I agree with you, caller. I think Murray could take quite a slide down because, as I mentioned, John Elway legs strong arm Drew Lock out of Missouri for the 10th pick, and the 11th pick is Cincinnati. And that's where I think Dwayne Haskins is actually going
But
to.
doesn't Cincinnati have a quarterback?
Andy Dalton.
And didn't they pay him a lot of money, or is
Well,
he?
he probably does get a lot of money, but he would, hold the clipboard for a year and kind of do what the Chiefs did with Alex Smith played his final year with the Chiefs, and Pat Mahomes.
Well, wouldn't Rosen be glad to, after the way he was beat up last year?
He was manhandled.
Wouldn't he appreciate maybe learning from a real vet and a real pro like Manning?
See, one thing you have to remember, Manning's last year of his contract, 2019. So unless Manning made the playoffs, which is a stretch,
Who knows?
I don't see the Giants. I really think they do have to make the playoffs for them to give Manning an extension. So Rosen was beaten up badly last year.
They don't have a defense. If their defense doesn't get any better than it was the last few years, they aren't going anywhere.
I can't sit here with any credibility and say the Giants have a chance for the playoffs because
their defense is Swiss
they
cheese.
don't. I think if they pick up a decent right tackle the first couple rounds, I think we're going to have a fairly potent offense, but I also think we're going to have to score minimum 30 points a game.
You can't win with that defense.
Yeah. And, you look at the Rams, that's a young ball club. I expect them to be in the upper echelon. I still don't know about the running back. I still think he's seriously injured. But the Giants' future isn't quite this year.
It's not clear.
No. Now, for Patriot fans out there, I expect, well, of course, they're in the enviable position where we all wish we would be, picking 32nd and wearing a Super Bowl ring. They've lost Gronkowski, of course, in the offseason. I think Irv Smith, tight end out of Alabama, will be sitting there. Noah Fant, who they really like, one of the two tight ends out of Iowa, along with Hawkinson, who's going to be a top 10 pick. So I think it'll be Smith, or they'll go for a wide receiver or an offensive lineman. So, and again, I could sit here and do my mock draft, but I really believe there'll be at least a half dozen trades in the first round tomorrow night. Caller?
Yeah, I still feel Arizona. I would take Ralston in the second. I would take Carr from Oakland in the second. What Arizona has to do is build a line for this kid.
Yep.
An offensive line. They throw him away after half a year of play.
Yep.
Then drafting Murray, they're kind of putting the cart before the horse.
What happened with
the no offensive line in front of him, no defense. So why don't they keep Rosen, which I feel is going to be a good quarterback? I watched a lot of clips on him. When he has time to throw, the guy's got a bullet. He can throw.
Yeah.
Why don't, first pick, here's Arizona with a lot of needs, trade down, get a lot of pieces, build the offensive line, build the defensive line. Really now's an opportunity because, they do have a good quarterback.
Yeah.
I just think they're making a very big mistake, or it's a very, very good smoke screen they've got going on.
Yeah, because if Oakland made the trade and they're picking fourth, maybe Carr would go to the Arizona and they would get the fourth spot in Carr, which would be a nice trade for Oakland. Now, there's an old saying, caller, and even when you're doing fantasy draft, don't fall in love with a player. Well, Kingsbury, the new head coach of Arizona, was the head coach, I believe, last year of Texas Tech. And he said during the season, when they asked him about Murray, he said, well, if I was a general manager,
he'd be the first guy.
He would be absolutely the first guy I would take. This guy is the real deal. And this is when he had no idea he was going to be coaching Arizona. And that's the guy he wants. It's his team. And I guess right now, as I sit here 25 hours before the draft, I still think Murray will be the first pick. I think, caller, the Jets, much to your thought about Arizona, anybody in the top 10, has something in common. They have a lot of need. I think the Jets will be trading out of that third position to get some extra draft picks, and I think you probably will see the second quarterback leave in that third position. So, and again, this is just
What would you do with number 1 pick if you were in the Arizona spot? Would either of you guys take him, or would you trade down, or what would you do with the number 1 pick?
well, like you said though, up till a couple months ago, Nick Bosa was the number 1 pick. He got injured early last year at Ohio State. Wisely said, "Thanks, Buckeyes, I'm out of here." He wasn't going to get himself back in condition to play with Ohio later in the season. His brother plays for the San Diego Chargers, and his brother is a very good ball player. But this guy is supposed to be better than his big brother. I guess if the coach, and they know more about Murray than I do, the problem with Murray is he's the same size as I am, and I really put no fear in anybody's eyes when they see me at 5 feet 9 inches. And that's how, well, they say he's 5'10", but I bet he's really 5'9". But he's an extremely athletic quarterback. That's kind of like the new wave.
And he does have a hell of an arm.
He does have a strong arm. And Dwayne Haskins, what he is a clone of Eli Manning. He's got stone feet. He's got a really strong arm. So if the Giants ended up with Haskins, they're getting Eli 2.0.
They're saying Haskins might really fall down too.
Haskins could slide as well. Washington needs a quarterback. They've got Casey Kasem, I was going to say.
Casey Keenum.
Casey Keenum, who was great 2 years ago with Minnesota. Denver signed him last year. He led a huge egg. And now Alex Smith got hurt with the Redskins, so Keenum is their quarterback now. So they're looking for a quarterback of the future. He could end up.
Like you said, these new quarterbacks of the future, you look who goes to the Super Bowl every year. It's your pocket quarterback.
Listen.
Your Drew Brees, Goff went, Brady. The quarterback, the running quarterback is fun to watch on a Sunday afternoon, but when the push comes to shove, it's your pocket quarterbacks that always win.
Well, Russell Wilson won a Super Bowl, and they went a couple times. And Russell Wilson's not too tall either.
No.
And I think the new NFL, where they play these, what do they call it, jet formations? I think a quarterback doesn't need to be stuck in the pocket like they used to.
See, David, but I like the LA Rams. This Goff is a pretty good quarterback.
He's a traditional quarterback.
Right. He's a pocket guy. They have a
Drew
great running
Brees,
back.
He's in the pocket all the time.
Yeah.
Look at Brady. He's in the pocket all the time.
I guess whatever works for you. I'm not going to sit here and say Patrick Mahomes is a bum. Would he have 51 touchdown passes last year? He's a great, exciting, sexy, new wave player. But I'm still of the ilk of
Well, not if I were a general manager, I would have watched Murray quite a bit, because Murray, a guy that can play baseball and a guy that can play football, the guy's an athlete.
Right.
So if you look at enough of his film and say, okay, the height isn't going to be a problem. We'll do rollouts. We'll do these jet sweeps. We'll do wildcat or whatever the hell they call it. And because the guys that like him think that he's a generational player. Mm-hmm. They say he's really something. But then again, you got guys like Gettleman that don't like small quarterbacks.
No.
And so who knows? It's really a...
But getting back to the caller's question.
Well, it's going to be interesting if they do really take him. I mean, he's in Arizona, and you got to kind of gear up out there. You play the Rams twice, you play the Seahawks twice, and you play the up-and-coming 49ers twice. Yeah. So, you've got to look within your opposition there and kind of mold your team to win within your division. So it'll be interesting. I just like having an offensive line first. I mean, if they go in there, draft him first, he better have some quick running shoes because he will be on the run.
I think Rosen will be traded.
Yeah, I
for
think that's
tomorrow
a pretty
night.
safe bet.
I think Washington, if I had to bet right now, would probably be the landing spot for him. But if Oakland wants him bad enough and trade up from the 4 position, I don't know. This is what's so intriguing about the draft tomorrow night, because you're not going to sit there saying, I've got all my notes, I've did my mock, so it's not going to happen that way. There's going to be a lot of trades. And I think the Giants actually could be involved in the trade.
Because they have a lot of picks, the Giants.
Yeah, they have 12 picks. And I think, boy, was it Seattle? I think had 4 picks in this whole draft. So, and if the Giants took all 12 picks, it would be foolish because you're not going to have 12 rookies making your team. That's almost 25% of your team. Actually, a little over 25%.
Now,
so the Giants have to package up.
I got a question for
Yeah,
you.
they'll be moving up and down the board.
Yeah.
Now, when the Giants got rid of Beckham, did his salary, is it now part of Cleveland's salary
It's all
cap?
Cleveland's. Yeah.
So the Giants got rid of that.
Yeah.
Do they have any more room now in the salary cap? Or?
I know today they've restructured the guy they got back, part of the OBJ, Olivier Vernon, the Kevin Zeitler,
Yeah.
the new right guard. They've restructured it, and I don't understand this capology stuff.
I can't figure it out for
but,
football.
Yeah.
Because then you got the dead money. Because I thought that when they got rid of Beckham, all of it went, but they still have a hit from this year or something. I'm
not sure.
And then there's dead, what they call dead money. Who knows?
Yeah.
So it's harder than the NHL.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why that upfront bonus money really rules everything now in football. That doesn't drag. It's not dead money. That money is money as it is.
Yep.
One last thing. What is wrong with the Red Sox?
Well, I'll tell you what. I can tell you what I think their real problem is their bullpen is not very good. I had this discussion today with a diehard Red Sox fan. I said, the thing is, if you look at spring training, the Red Sox hardly pitched any of their starters because they knew they were all wore out. But by the end of the season, I bet you Sale will pitch pretty well. I bet you Price will pitch pretty well. I bet you even Porcello will come around. I mean, guys will do what they... I have a saying when we're playing golf and somebody just made 2 birdies in a row. I said, water seeks its own level. and you somewhere along the way, you get what you're supposed to get.
Yeah.
But their bullpen was crap. It wasn't that good last year when they had Kimbrel. And the only reason they won the World Series was thanks to Eovaldi pitching every game and being the closer. And you take a guy like Brazier, who's a career journeyman, never been in the major leagues till last year. There's a reason why.
But let me say this about Ryan Brazier. Now,
He's okay.
Brian. Craig Kimbrell wanted 6 years, $100 million. Okay, the Red Sox bullpen has been dog poo-poo this year, except for Ryan Brazier. Okay, he's got 6 saves. He's got an ERA of 1.59 with a WHIP of 0.88. You know, I'm not saying anybody can go in the closer
No,
role.
but you got Barnes. You got
Right, no, their bullpen's in trouble.
you got a lot of recycled
Right.
has-beens and never-wases.
Yeah, and if I gave this caller more time, I could get in a good argument of who's got a worse bullpen, my Washington Nationals or his Red Sox. We were tied 5-5 going in the 7th inning the other night. Relief pitcher comes in, gives up a home run. Next inning, another relief pitcher comes in, gives up a home run. We have a horrible, horrible bullpen. Now, I talk about closers all the time, and I wish the Duke was here. Okay, the save leader in the this guy's a fantasy player, so he knows everything. David, the American League save leader is who?
I have no
All right,
clue.
if I tell you the team.
Tampa.
No, he pitches for Detroit.
Really?
Okay, and why Dave thinks because
Green.
Shane Green.
Oh, the old Yankee.
Okay, if he came up and kissed you right now, you probably wouldn't know. Okay.
I would know Shane Green because
Okay.
who did they get back for Shane Green? I think that was the deal where they got Didi Gregorius.
So, caller, I'm going to ask you, National League save leader. Go. Hello?
Oh boy, you got me. I don't know. I'm
Okay.
not too sharp.
Okay,
for the
I'm
National
going to give
League.
you guys a big hint. You're going to say, oh, I got it. Pitches for San Diego. I need an answer. Or I'm going to have
Got
to give
me
you
again.
some lovely parting gifts. Kirby Yates. And you're going to say, I've never heard of Kirby Yates.
A household name.
Exactly. And
Durwood Kirby?
Yeah. And that's what I tell Duke all the time. You don't need to give Kimbrel $100 million. Brazier's probably making $1.5 million a year, and he may find his own level. I mean, his ERA probably would be around 3, which will be fine for.
Well, he stunk against the Yankees. That's why I pick on him because when he came in against the Yankees,
Yeah, though. I mean, every part of their team. I mean, is when they pitch a little bit, they don't hit. Their defense isn't good. It's just it's
Hangover.
like they're going through the motions. And like I say, Tampa's playing decent ball. Yankees are playing decent ball, and it's just a matter of time. We're going to have to get something together, or we're going to pick our heads up and be 13 games behind. And it seems like Price is the only consistent pitcher we have right now. So it's just not a good feeling with them. They don't look like they have continuity going. It's just a whole different look than last year.
Now, Boston, of course, I sit here and we'll talk about every player under the sun, but again, it always gets down to pitching. Boston, team ERA out of 15 teams in the league is currently 14th with a 5.61. The injury-riddled New York Yankees is 4th in the league with a 3.60. And the thing that's so encouraging about the Yankees, they're playing this with a lot of backup players right now. Now, do I think the Red Sox, if you put a gun to my head right now, would make the playoffs? I would say yeah. But some point soon they're going to have to start winning, and really coming off that four-game sweep of the Rays.
Geez, you thought they'd have got at least a split yesterday
right.
with Detroit.
And the thing is, regardless who you play, teams never sweep. It just never happens. And Detroit is not a.
Detroit, actually, aren't
Wait.
they an over 500
Well,
team?
I said yesterday to a guy I work with, here we go, we'll take this doubleheader today, and that'll send us right in a good way on a winning streak. And here they do lose that doubleheader to the Tigers. And I told my wife, I said, this is about as low as we can go. I mean,
David?
there's no redemption after this.
Detroit actually has the second best ERA in the league at 3.23. The Tampa Bay Rays, the idiot Rays, are still even week before May. They're at 2.82.
So,
Yeah, I mean that's just
well, the
incredible
Tigers,
stuff.
I think the guy they pitched, I was listening to somebody, I'm not sure if it was the guys on Nesson, but they're saying maybe they should have had Sale pitch the second game because the guy pitching the first game yesterday for the Tigers is a stud. And I think he's really been pitching great. I don't know much about him, but they said he's really turned into he's a real deal, this kid.
Now, caller Jackie Bradley, is he
He's
a,
hitting about 150 right now. And
134? Is he a free agent after this season?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think the way this season is going, they're all going to be free agents.
Yeah. Although you have to give the.
But they signed him a year or two ago, and I don't know if it was a 2-year contract or not.
You have to give Dombrowski credit, though. Bogarts has been playing extremely good all season, and is a $20 million a year.
And
contract.
Martinez is a hitting
And Martinez
machine.
he is hitting last 330.
And Marland is hitting well.
Yeah.
They're you guys got lucky last year. There was a lot of smoke and mirrors that managed to come through. When you start off 17-2, that takes a lot of the edge off the season because that's a pretty good head start.
And Caller, you said Price is pitching pretty good, but my issue there, he's got a 3.7 ERA. I'm all about the money. He's getting 31 a year. He should be at 2.75. At 3.75.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see that.
No, I don't either.
You know, you look at a lot of those big contracts, and you know, you can say, are they worth their value? And it can go to hitters, pitchers, whatever. A lot of times, those contracts are hard to live up to.
Yeah, the top ERA guy in the American League is Tyler Glasnow from Tampa, 1.53. Matt Shoemaker, Toronto, 1.57. David's guy he talked about a month ago, Domingo Germain,
Yeah, he's pitching. He pitched great yesterday.
1.75. Marcus Stroman with the Blue Jays, 1.76. And the Cy Young Award winner last year, Blake Snell, at 2.16. And again, stats on April 24th.
They're a little,
right. I mean, it's only been a sample size of 4 weeks.
Well, you know, I always say the beginning of May is when things should start happening, and we're almost there.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a thing on the internet. They had a baseball diamond, 2 of them, of the Yankees. They had what was projected to be the opening day lineup, and they have the injury lineup, and they have 2. I looked at it, and there's 2 very competitive teams. I mean, they are so deep. You know, they will not stumble this year. There's just too much depth in it. It's a very good blend of some veterans, and the young people are all performing. I mean, who can lose a couple arms like Severino in the beginning, and a guy like Jermaine come up and pitch the daylights out? You know, it is. They're just so deep.
Well, they've been
The
lucky.
only problem they're going to have is when everybody gets healthy. Who's going to sit and?
I'll tell you what, Caller, their GM has done a great job of finding diamonds in the rough. Because you look at Voit, picked up Voit for a bag of pucks. He picked up this outfielder who's a pretty good fielder. But the third baseman that's taken over since Andujar, this guy's hitting 300. Is
Gio Urshela. I've never even heard of
the
him.
guy. The guy is a major league Gold Glover. He's a super fielder.
But David, the Yankees' top 2 RBI guys, they've got these
Voit and Clint Frazier.
Right. Voigt's got 18 and Clint Frazier's got 17. You've got a multitude of multi-million-dollar players
I know, and
on
they're
the
all-
team. And you've got guys aren't even earning $1 million a year, your top 2 guys.
Well, and Judge is probably out for 2 months
Yeah.
because those obliques go forever.
Voit must be up there in RBIs. I think he had a couple more home runs last night.
Yeah, he's got 18 RBIs right now, which is
He's
He's a machine.
but the Yankees have had a great success of finding other guys' throwaways like Hicks, Voit, even Didi was nothing when but it seems like they
Kind of the Patriots of baseball.
Yes. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens when they get all their horses back. I think Sanchez is coming back tonight.
it's just mind-boggling to me. The 2 guys leading the American League in RBIs would be guys you go on the corner of Lake and Maine, and the first guy is Domingo Santana. Okay, who? He's got 27 RBIs with the Mariners, and the second guy with 23 RBIs is the world-famous Eddie Rosario from Minnesota.
Well, it's early yet,
Right.
too.
And I want to give some good words to a guy that should have won the MVP. Nothing against Mookie, but to me, the MVP is, if you took him off the team, who would suffer the most? Chris Davis. And Chris Davis is doing it again this year. Leads the league in home runs with 10. And for RBIs, I think he's got 20.
I think he just signed a 2-year
yeah,
extension.
he did get an
too.
extension. So he's a good, very, very good ball
Yeah, and
player.
he's got like a 240 batting average.
He is about a 245 lifetime hitter.
But he's not as bad as the other Chris Davis that's with the Orioles.
Yeah.
Has that guy had a hit yet?
Oh, he had.
Okay, I'll let you guys go, and have a good evening, guys.
Hey, thanks,
Yeah,
caller.
yeah. And another guy,
Did he get a hit yet?
he had broke out last week with a 3-hit game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and a little story: Christian Yelich for Milwaukee.
Former
Now,
Florida
where's-
Marlin.
Zach, got a dial. Okay.
Beep, beep.
Okay, good. Last year, and Florida made a horrible trade. They traded Christian Yelich to Milwaukee for a young prospect by the name of Lewis Brinson, and the guy's been a bum with the Marlins. Playing down in we played Miami last week, David. I didn't check the attendance in all 3 games. The third game they played was 7,700 people
Oh, jeez.
at the ballpark. I mean, how they survived, I do not know. I think Leonard actually may be on the phone. Let's do it. LP, you are on the air.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Yeah. So, Leonard, I just want to throw out a little trivia fact.
Hold on just a moment.
Yep.
Let me, I got to get my volume up here a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, don't tell me the Washington score. I recorded that today, and I'm
No,
going
I
to watch.
won't do that.
Okay, now, before any of tonight's action, the top 4 teams in the National League East all figured to be pretty equal in stature. Teams maybe that have the less injuries could end up winning that division. So from first to fourth, it's a game and a half. Okay. Now, I mentioned 4 minutes ago, it's always about pitching. Okay. So there's 15 teams in the National League. Okay. 11th is Philadelphia in ERA. 12th is Atlanta. 13th is Washington. 14th is the New York Mets.
Wow.
Well, are you talking starting or overall pitch?
Overall pitching.
Oh, well, our bullpen is, Christ, last. And that skews our starters because our bullpen is last in walks.
Okay. Leonard, seems to be an epidemic because our bullpen is the worst. You say the Braves are the worst. The last caller says the Red Sox are the worst. I mean,
Well, it's an epidemic. But all they do is get these guys that throw 95 plus, but they can't control it. They don't know where the hell it's going. They don't have any pitchers in the bullpen. They just got throwers.
yeah.
And we're seeing the byproduct of that.
We
can get back to that. But I have a trivia for you. Who has the most doubles in baseball since 2015?
Leonard usually will sway towards an Atlanta Brave fans. It's not a Brave, is it, Leonard?
It is. It's Nick Markakis.
Okay.
Wow.
He has the most doubles of any player in Major League Baseball since 2015.
Yeah, and
You've poo-pooed him in the past, but he is the consummate Major League hitter. He's got over 2,000 hits. If he can stay healthy, he may get 3,000. He is one of the toughest guys to strike out in all of Major League Baseball. He is your consummate professional hitter and a Gold Glover to boot.
Right, but the problem, David, is he averages 9 home runs a year and 72 RBIs.
He's not a power hitter. Doubles aren't bad.
A right fielder should be hitting you a minimum 25 home runs.
Well, I'd take him over Yasiel Puig.
While just in character alone, I wouldn't want Puig on my team.
Yeah. But anyway, we finally got one young pitcher here I think that is the real deal, and that's Max Fried.
He leads the National League in ERA.
Right, and he can get it up to 96. And when he was a middle schooler in Southern California, he watched video of Sandy Koufax. That's what he did. He was a baseball nut. And he watched video of Sandy Koufax. That's 2-3 generations removed from him. And he has his curveball right now is likened to about Kershaw's or anybody else's. I mean, he goes from like 95 to 74 on a 12 to 6 curveball. He spins it as well as anybody in baseball. And his demeanor, he's not like Foltynewicz, who's on speed. He's not like Newcomb, who looks like he's in a rocking chair and can't seem to locate. But this guy looks like he may be the real deal, top of the rotation starter for a long time. He's 25 years old. He was drafted in the first round, I think, in 2014. Tommy John, 2015. They waited for him. They traded I think, to the Padres for him, for Justin Upton, and they just waited on the guy, and he looks like the real deal. And they got a guy going tonight, Sobotka there, not Soroka, excuse me, who's another guy. I think he's out of Canada, and he's got great demeanor. And but again, it's all about the Braves bullpen. They will move. I mean, they're going to tread water. I mean, they're not in trouble, obviously. I mean, they're only half a game out. I mean, nobody in the East is running away. So until if they can't figure it out in the bullpen, they're going to have to make some moves, and they got a lot of chess pieces they can move to get a bullpen.
Yeah, and I can tell you, Leonard, the same with Washington. We, other than Sean Doolittle, who I consider great, I don't even think he's given up an earned run this year. There's not a proven pitcher in that bullpen, and we can be up 2-3 runs in the 7th inning. And I'm just
it's an epidemic.
You have to watch the games, and they probably have blown in the 8th inning 6 games this year already.
Well, all they throw are pretty much fastballs, and if they can't get the secondary pitch over, they got to rely on that heater. And if they can't locate it, these guys catch up with it.
Yeah. Now,
I mean, you can blame that on the philosophy of just throwing hard. I mean, they don't know how to pitch. Good bullpen pitchers, they keep batters, guessing. I mean, they get them off stride. I mean, you don't come in and, there's very few guys that just blow it by them. The best relief pitcher in baseball since 2011, numbers-wise, has been Kimbrel.
Yeah.
And Kimbrel always had a lights-out slider. But his value is diminished, obviously, because of his playoff performance and the fact you got to give up a draft pick to get him, and nobody's going to sign him until after the June draft.
Yeah, no,
so they don't want to give up that pick.
Yeah,
and of course now, but the thing dearest to my mind right now is the NFL draft tomorrow night. That's
and
I'm with you. I think the Giants definitely will go defense in the first pick, and probably either offensive lineman or defensive pick on the second pick, because I don't think there's a quarterback out there that's really worth their salt.
Do you think?
And all the metrics on what's his name? I mean, our offensive line did get better toward the second half of the season, and they've made some more strides this off season. And Eli's numbers, second half of the season, were very, very good.
Yeah. Well, Leonard, I say it every time we talk about the Giants. They led their division in scoring last year, but unfortunately, they also led the division in giving up the most points.
Well,
so I think they got to use these picks to shore up the defense, and they'll be quarterback, and they're not going to win. Hell, they're going to draft in the top 12 next year.
Yeah.
And so they can get a quarterback next year.
Yeah. Well, and I agree with you too. If let Eli play until he can't play, and I say that to Patriot fans. There's been rumors that at the 32nd pick, last pick in the first round, that the Patriots may go for a quarterback. But
I
why?
understand that. Yeah.
But why? Because Brady wants to play for at least another 3 years.
But there's nobody that's. Some of these guys may turn out to be really great NFL quarterbacks that are available, but, on paper, they don't really register. Right. I mean,
this is one of the deeper drafts I can remember, but about the weakest draft for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And again, next year, you've got this kid I bragged about all fall, Justin Herbert, out of Washington.
Well, and again, he's nothing super special.
The kid
from Alabama, Tua, whatever his name is.
The kid from Alabama.
Whatever.
And David's long hair buddy from
Clemson.
What's his name?
Oh,
he won the national championship. Freshman.
That's how much we think about him.
These three guys will be top 5 picks.
Yeah.
Next year.
It's going to be an interesting draft, and Haskins isn't even attending.
Okay.
He doesn't want to show up. And the other thing is, Odell even gave us more reason to be so glad that he's gone.
Yeah.
You're so right.
Running his mouth now in Cleveland and saying, I'm a cancer, right? Playing for a team that doesn't want to win. Hey, he's such a. I'm so glad he's gone. God bless him. Cleveland's good.
They got their hands
Mayfield
full with
together.
him.
That should be an act. That'll be a if they don't win. That's going to be a circus.
Leonard, you're 100%. Because the other wide receiver, Jarvis Landry, that used to play with Miami, and they couldn't stand his act, and he's a pretty good receiver.
what a
They got
bunch
rid of
of-
him to Cleveland, and of course Baker Mayfield runs on a different clock than you and I.
Oh, he's a loose cannon.
He is. He's a good player,
Yeah.
fun to watch. But what a bunch of personalities.
They're going to be great as long as things are good.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But when they
They don't
run
have
into a little
character
adversity.
people to be able to withstand, any type of adversity.
Oh,
Yeah, and they have a brand new head coach this year. They're
Yeah, right. That's a lot of continuity, isn't it? You got a brand new head coach again, So, and did you see the hit there on the San Jose player?
I did.
no, I didn't see that.
No, that was a big play. I mean, would they score 4 goals? in
Yeah,
that?
that was an historic third period. The
Yeah.
famous,
Who won the play?
very popular
Vegas?
Vegas Golden Knights were up 3-0, close to midway in the third period.
Seventh game.
Game, set, match. One of the Vegas defenders cross-checked Joe Pavelski, whatever, the captain
In
of
the
the
chest.
Sharks, right in the chest.
But he hit his head, must be, and cut himself.
Yeah. So he went down the ice, and normally in the playoffs, you only give 2 minutes. They gave a 5-minute major. Well, you know how
Kicked the guy out of the game.
kick the guy out of the game. You know how hard it is to score, period. It's hard. Lo and behold, the Sharks scored against a good goaltender, Marc-Andre Fleury, for the Knights. 4 power play goals during that major.
Wow.
They went up 4-3. Marchand scored for the Knights with about 41 seconds left
To tie it?
send it in overtime, and then the Sharks scored with about a minute and a half left of the first overtime.
Oh,
last
wow, that
night.
must have been
I
some
mean,
game.
And here it was. I mean, 3-0 halfway through the third stanza. You've got the game.
But what they did, you got a team, San Jose, that's really, they're done. They're ready to mail it in. You got the Knights, who aren't too offensively minded. They're up 3-0, half a period to go. They're pretty much playing defense, dump it out. Nobody, and all of a sudden they awaken like a sleeping giant. It's their captain that got cross-checked, and he hit his head on the ice, cut himself, and they kicked the guy out. They gave a 5-minute major, and not only did it give them the power play, it actually, excuse my language, it pissed them off.
Yeah.
It awakened San Jose.
Yeah.
They were very upset. They went after the captain. Their captain's bleeding. He had to be helped off the ice. And really, the cross-check, if it doesn't hit his head and bleed, the cross-check is no more than a double minor at best.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Wow.
And it was really a very unique situation, and Las Vegas has nobody to blame but themselves.
Yep.
I mean, as I said, they awakened somebody that was in a slumber, and as I said, they were just running out the clock. Both teams, basically, at that point.
Did you watch the Toronto-Boston game?
I did not. I talked to somebody who attended it later today, and he said it was basically a 3-1 game, 2 empty netters.
It was fantastic. It was 2-0. Toronto outplayed them, I thought, the first period. So did Don Cherry. Everybody thought they outplayed them, but their defense had a brain fart and left the puck behind the net, and he thought he was giving it to his defensive partner, and they got a quick goal, and then they got another one. And started the second period, Toronto scored right off. Toronto was all over them. They had to jump, and then stupid Bruins got a goal, and then the last one was an empty netter. And but
they said this guy said it was the Bruins' fourth line was key.
yes, they played because the Toronto was all over them. Toronto's fast.
They're a good skating team.
The hockey in these playoffs is so fast. The cameras can't keep up when they move the puck. It's just so
Well,
quick.
there's nothing better than playoff
it's
hockey.
great.
There's
It's
nothing
fantastic.
better.
They're really good.
Yeah. And the Bruins got a chance to go a long way.
I don't think so.
Well, Leonard, I would have told you a week ago, absolutely not. But one of the world's greatest upset in any sport history, Tampa Bay Lightning had an historic year. One of the
Yeah.
top points. They might have had the all-time point record. Just unstoppable.
62
they,
wins.
they have a great goaltender, just
do.
a well-balanced team. Nobody was going to stop Tampa. And Columbus not only beat them, and Columbus was the 8th ranked team that got in the playoff a couple
Well,
nights before.
do you think Tampa Bay really took them a little too lightly? And in the
Indeed.
playoffs, I mean, hey, we know a lot of number one seeds in high school hockey that get bounced in the first round.
Yeah,
because
we do.
Yeah,
They're not
so
ready to play. I mean,
there's-
for whatever reason, or they're nervous, They don't want to make a mistake because they're thought of so highly. That's another possibility, obviously, and so that's not unusual.
No.
And the Blackhawks 2 years ago weren't a great team, but they were in the playoffs. They still had a lot of great players. They got beaten 4 straight, and they scored, I think, a total of 4 goals in 4 games.
the Bruins have a quick turnaround. They play tomorrow night. In fact, the Blue Jackets invade the Garden. So
Because this will go on until July, right?
June.
mid-June. Yeah.
Mid-June.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the NBA that
It's a
goes almost
marathon,
to July.
There's no question.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
a marathon,
So I
but,
think Bruins will win the series if I had to put money on it. But I mean, the
Who
Blue
are they
Jackets.
playing?
Blue Jackets.
Blue Jackets.
Yeah, but the Blue Jackets right now they're playing with monopoly money. I mean,
Of course, right, and the Bruins now have home ice.
they
right?
have home ice, and the onus is on the Bruins to win the series.
well, the thing is, though, that Tortorella knows what he's doing.
Oh, you're right, David.
And supposedly Columbus had traded away, made a lot of trades at the trade deadline, and it took a little while for the team
Yes.
to gel, but they really started to
Right.
play the last few weeks.
Now, the ex-Blackhawk, one of my favorite players in the league, Leonard remembers him well, Antti Panarin.
Oh, the bread man.
Yeah, this guy is so offensively skilled. He's a free agent.
He may be going back to Chicago.
He could very well be. And
I know he likes it there.
their
He likes
goaltender,
playing with,
Poposky,
Patrick Kane.
everybody's
I don't know if they got the money to sign him, but that's not out of the realm
Yeah.
of possibility that they bring him back.
They call him Goalie Bob. He's one of the better goaltenders. So it should be a good series with the Bruins.
Well, I watched the thing with the coach from Tampa after.
Cooper is a great coach.
And he
from Tampa.
goes, hey, look, we any of the teams that get in the playoffs, they can win.
Yep.
He said it's not the regular season. Anybody that if they were in the playoffs, they were a good team.
Yeah.
It's not a surprise to us. I think they just couldn't get it going, and they were ahead 2-0 the first game and ended up losing.
NHL is the best, well-balanced league of all sports. Like
Now I'm going to get politically incorrect, and I'll probably, hear about it. But I think the flap over Kate Smith is almost.
Oh, Leonard, thank you.
I mean, we're going back 90 years.
Yep.
We're going back 90 years. When times were different, even when we were kids, things were said that were different.
Yes.
It's just the way it was. I mean, you can't change history. The woman has no. She was trying to make it in a career as a 20-year-old. There's no history of her being a racist. And of course, the Flyers, I call it bloodless terrorism. It's what it is. It's
Absolutely.
What it is. The Flyers got to take this stance. Well, it doesn't meet with our standards. We got to take her statue down. Well, you know what it's all about. It's all about money. They're afraid some of the people would boycott the games and that would hurt their bottom line. This isn't about principle. This is all about money.
Leonard, Channel 3 did a story on Kate Smith because she was kind of like a Lake Placid resident. She loved the Adirondacks.
Yeah.
In fact, her tomb is in Lake Placid. She did so much what's that word?
Philanthropy.
Yeah, philanthropy.
In Lake Placid, she was like the Miss Lake Placid.
She raised $500 million of war bonds.
Yeah.
$500 million.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
is a great lady, and the gentleman who was a friend of hers, he looked like he was close to 90 years old, said, as Leonard said, times were different. It's all the matter of intent. What was her intent?
We're talking 90 years ago.
Well, she had a song portfolio of 3,000 songs.
Right.
And you
right.
pick two that are offensive. My God, if you took a film of everything we've done over the last 50 years, you could find two things that would offend somebody. I'm sure of it.
We've gone, and this is why the Trumps of the world are successful.
Absolutely. And
I mean, and I'm not a Trump fan, but this is the kind of stuff that I don't want to sound like a grumpy old man. I'm an old man, but I don't think I'm grumpy. But this is just over and above.
Too much.
I understand the Robert E. Lee thing and all that. I mean, but it's all symbolism. It means nothing. It will change nothing. It's simply symbolism.
Well, the thing is, with the Confederate guys, a lot of those statues, and some of the guys like Nathan Bedford Forrest, who founded the Ku Klux Klan, a lot of those were put in the 30s. They weren't put in, but Robert E. Lee is an American hero, and well regarded by both sides, and if we start taking apart our history and we start going after every historical person we had using the lens of today's
it's just
morality.
not fair. I don't think it's fair.
It's not fair to any of them. The guy, to me, Leonard, that's gotten the worst deal is Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson in the 1800s was the most popular president. You had his birthday off. It was a holiday. And over the last 20 or 30 years, and he wasn't good to the Indians, but you know what? There were a lot of people that weren't good to the Indians. And it was all part of the American Manifest Destiny. But where does it stop? Well, George Washington had slaves. Are we gonna throw him under the bus? I mean,
Well, I mean, if you want to carry it to a total extreme, you're going to tear down the Washington Monument. You're going to tear down the Jefferson Memorial.
Absolutely no. And
I mean, but that's taking it to the extreme.
But I've heard George Washington.
But the same rationale is
people want
there.
to change the name of that school.
Yeah.
The same rationale is there.
It's all
it's
nuts.
It's just unfortunate that it's gone to that level. But
I'm really mad at the Yankees for not playing her version. Though I did hear there's a beach town in New Jersey. Don't ask me which one. And at 11 o'clock every day, they play God Bless America on the beach and Kate Smith's version. And he says, we are going to keep playing that song as long as I'm around because you know what? It's ridiculous. And it is.
Sure it is. When these, like the Flyers say, well, it just doesn't meet with our standards. Well, their standards is the bottom line. They're afraid to lose money. That's why they take the statue down. Nothing to do with virtue.
Do you know,
it has all to
Kate,
do
what
with
a
the bottom
hero?
line. That's all it is. It's a bloodless terrorism. It's economic terrorism, is what it is.
Yeah,
Plain and simple. That's what it is. Two things. One more trivia question, and you touched on one of the guys already. Two presidents lived with the bullets next to their heart, and they lived until their death. Because they couldn't take the bullets out because they were too close to their heart. And there were two presidents that meet that criteria. And the assassins the bullets didn't kill them, but they did live with the bullets next to their heart until they died.
Old Hickory.
He was one of them. It was a duel. He gave the guy the first shot. He took the
Teddy
shot
Roosevelt.
and didn't knock him down, but it stuck in his chest next to his heart. They couldn't take it out, but he lived a long time afterwards. And the other one is who?
Teddy Roosevelt.
When he was running for the Bull Moose Party as an independent there, and he was police commissioner in New York, and of course he wanted to shut the bars down on Sunday and clean up the act, and he made a lot of saloon keepers unhappy, and I think it was in Wisconsin or the Midwest somewhere he was campaigning, and so an old saloon keeper from Manhattan came up point blank with a revolver and shot him, and it was his eyeglass case and his speech, which was folded up, that kind of kind of kept the bullet from really full impact, but it ended up lodged next to his heart, and it stayed there the rest of his life.
Good story.
But here's the scoop of the day. Billy Joel is playing baseball stadium concert. True story, this summer. Playing a lot of baseball stadiums. And he's going to play Fenway in early September. And finally, Fenway will get some hits.
Oh,
That's how I leave that.
Okay, that's a good one.
thank you, Leonard.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Len.
He's so right on that Kate Smith thing. That is, where does it stop? I hate that we filter stuff that happened. It's just like they're getting rid of Columbus Day now.
Well, David, I think you told me your kid's attending George Washington
Yeah.
this September. But I've heard rumblings that there are a certain faction that want to change the name of that school because George Washington had slaves. I mean, the Jefferson Memorial.
Hey, when God, Jesus had it right. He says, "He who lives without sin should cast the first stone."
Exactly.
When you're perfect, then you can do it. All right.
Let's grab a call.
Hello.
Good evening. You're on the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Rick.
Yes. Is this my good friend Jim
This is
Coombs?
It is.
Okay. Jim, I was about ready to read my notes right here. This upcoming Saturday, the Senior Center is holding their biggest fundraiser of the year. They are having a silent auction with one of the items, a signed baseball from Boston Red Sox reliever Tyler Thornburg. They're going to have numerous other items up for bid. Again, it's a silent auction, and a big feast from 11:30 to 1:30. And I wish I was in town because I would go to it. It's a maple glazed chicken meal, and in accordance with Maple Weekend here at
Right.
St. Albans Maple Festival, Vermont Maple Festival going on. So this is a very big to-do, and it's a very important event for the seniors. As I mentioned, it is their biggest fundraiser of the year. So if the folks have an opportunity, get up to the Senior Center on Messenger Street between the hours of 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. to put in your bid on the silent auction. So anything to add there, Jim? Hello?
No, you did a good job. I'm just sorry you're not going to be there to bid.
Oh, yeah, I wish I was. In fact, Jim, I'm more interested in the maple glazed chicken in the meal than placing a bid. But how many members, Jim, do you have up at the Senior Center?
It's over 450,
Wow.
of which about 250 are over the age of 83.
Wow.
God bless them.
And you're the head honcho up there, correct?
Well, yeah, part-time. There's a lot of other people doing the work.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
got a lot of volunteers. We get over 1,000 hours of volunteers
Yeah.
each month.
You know, as everybody knows, we have an aging society, and places like the Senior Center every year is going to be a more valuable asset to every community.
You're right, and I thank you for your help, Rick.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You're a good man. Thanks, Jim. That's it.
That's it. Good night.
So, no, it's funny because I started off the show with it, and we just got so many phone calls. But again, just quickly, the silent auction at the Senior Center this Saturday, 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock at the Messenger at their facility. Signed baseball by Boston Red Sox relief pitcher Tyler Thornburg, who I think came over in the Milwaukee Brewer trade when the Red Sox sent over Travis Shaw, and he's been an all-star over there. So maple glazed meal, 11:30 to 1:30. So very important to help out the Senior Center.
Well, Thornburg's actually been pitching a little bit this year. They've actually used him.
Yeah, they have. So
The Red Sox are a mess.
I haven't joined the Senior Center at this point, but
No, I'm still.
well, I'll be 61 next week, so I'm getting close. Even though I do qualify.
60's or what do they? How does that work?
60's the new 50,
40.
or, yeah, well, I would say 40, maybe 50. But no, when you get older and you're retired, and if you're not heading south for the winter, you need to get out of the house.
Oh boy,
You
that's
need,
the truth.
because that the old proverbial cabin fever is a nice way of older folks getting depression, and by staying in your house from November to April is not a good thing.
It's
So you get over to the senior center, find an activity, play cards, play cribbage, have a meal, do something.
Yeah, it's you can't. You got to stay busy.
And people ask me, why do you play so much golf? It's simple. It's more, well, physically I need it, but it's more for the mental health. I mean,
It's-
just like I said, the last 3 nights, David, being outside with the fresh air and 67 degrees out, couldn't have been any
It
better
was
spot in the world.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It was beautiful, but boy, it sure turned to crap today.
Yeah. Oh,
Today's
no,
a typical
it was
fall
funny.
day.
Like my mood was like sky high the last 3 days, and all of a sudden it was like boom, right to the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, these are cold days, but we all know that you can't count.
You can't count on April. No, sir.
Can't count on April, not till it's over.
So, David, I do have one semi-political question that maybe I know the answer, maybe I don't, and I certainly do not like to talk politics on the show. But when our president was proven by the Mullen report that there was no collusion, that it was a 2-year farce, blah, blah, blah. But bottom line, there was no collusion. Shouldn't the opponents, shouldn't they have been happy by saying, even though I didn't vote for this person, I'm just grateful that our president was not involved with this collusion with the Russians? I mean, shouldn't people just feel glad that this is our leader? Am I stupid? Am I naive? What's my
We've
story?
gotten so polarized, and this president is so polarizing that he could cure cancer tomorrow. And the people would say, well, what did he have against cancer? Whatever he does, even when he's right, they still hate him. And there's and not that he doesn't deserve some of it, because he's not a very good winner. And he loves to rub.
Well, that's one of my favorite sayings. What's worse than the poor loser?
It's a bad winner.
It's a poor winner.
And I know it's a little bit that way when I play in golf, and I don't usually mouth off too much until we get to 18 or if the match isn't over. And but we are suffering from such a lack of leadership. And
again, some of the stuff I'm hearing from the Democrat candidates about free college education, relieving college debt. Do you know the college debt in this country is $1.5 billion? So am I supposed to pick up?
Hey,
When
I'd like
people
some
go
of
to
the-
college, they know what they're getting into. I don't want to pay for that additional $1.5 trillion.
I think we suffer from the fact that we haven't really had any really serious things. This generation, you go back to our greatest generation, our World War II folks. Those folks, they were branded in fire. They grew up in a depression. Their parents had to deal with World War I.
You know what, David? That the GI soldier in World War II, I'm sure you know this, less than half of them had high school diplomas.
These guys, they grew up when they didn't worry about such trivial stuff as what we argue mindlessly today. It's like this business with the garbage bags. The Vermont legislature passed a bill to ban plastic garbage
That's
bags.
the new wave, is no plastic bags as of next year.
Well, let me tell you something. I've read enough stuff. The environmental impact is so minimal, and the fact of the matter is that with all these reusable cloth bags, it costs the environmental impact of growing the cotton or growing the paper is a lot worse than the plastic bags themselves.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, we're crazy. We have a food system that's safe and and we can feed 7 billion people today with no problems. But we got people out there, oh, we don't want this milk. We don't, because we don't want this thing. You'd think that our milk was coming, it was made in some back alley meth lab. You'd think that our food, our meat came from some, it was like Sinclair's stuff. We've
jungle.
never had packaging and stuff that's so good. It's like all these people with their kids getting the measles and not taking their vaccines. The longer we go, the dumber we're getting. We finally get rid of all of these diseases, and you don't get your kids vaccinated. And it's all because of some crazy ideas that, it's so ridiculous. They want to go back to the Stone Age. But it's really too bad. The facts don't justify a lot of the stuff we do. It's the same with the electric cars and the whole idea. Or if you read, when you read the comments of our legislators, a lot of them say the most important problem facing Vermont is climate change.
Yeah, it changed today from yesterday.
Let me tell you something. If the whole state of Vermont went right off the grid, didn't use one electron of electricity, didn't burn one molecule of gasoline, do you know how much difference we would make in the world's pollution issue?
No.
Nothing.
Right.
Zero.
Right. I mean, we could do everything that somebody wants. The real issue is China.
We don't amount to anything.
We really don't. And India would be the second greatest polluter in the world.
And
so we can do all we want, and it's not going to change. And the bottom line with me is, the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. I think we're on pretty safe ground.
Well, the thing is, if you want to have a nice place, a nice world to live in, what you need is prosperity. It takes money to have state parks and national parks and to preserve things. And it takes money to save, to recycle and to have water treatment plants and to have all the pollution. Because I just came from a place where I saw some stuff. These folks are poor.
In Lebanon.
And some of these folks are so poor, and these refugees, they're living in cardboard houses, they're living in tents. Do you think they give a crap about whether or not their corn has GMO seeds? I don't think so. They don't worry about that stuff because they're just worried about getting a meal. They don't care about recycling. They don't care about any of that stuff. If you're in India and you can go shoot a tiger and get $10,000 when you're making $500 a year, what do you think you're going to do?
I'm going to shoot that tiger.
So you have to have prosperity so that you can afford the environmental stuff. At least, because looking at it, going to a different part of the world, that's what I see. And the poor folks have the worst environmentalism. You need money. You need money to pay for that stuff. But anyway, how did we get? Oh, Leonard got us all screwed up.
It's always Leonard's fault.
I know.
So I want to mention basketball. Being a big Celtic fan, we swept Indiana, the Pacers, and of course, and I still can't pronounce the guy's name, but he's a top 10 player in basketball. He got injured less than halfway into the season, and they had a great record with him, and they definitely would have challenged Boston if he was still around. I saw him at the end of the bench with street clothes. But anyway, Boston swept him in 4. So that was Sunday. Today is Wednesday. I can't tell you, David, when the Celtics are playing next. There's nothing scheduled through this upcoming Sunday, so that would be a minimum of 1 week in between games. You mentioned earlier about the NBA getting close to July. I mean, you've got all kinds of time to rest.
Oh, awful.
And they just drag it. It's not, the regular season is a hardship. The playoffs, they drag it on. So the 4 top seeds in the Eastern Conference, they all won. So Celtics being the 4th seed, we will be playing the Greek Freak, and again,
Is that Toronto?
the Milwaukee.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And if Nick Melmy was here, he's great with all these foreign names. I can't pronounce it.
Is
but
Toronto considered the best team?
Toronto's the second seed. They'll be playing home court advantage against the Sixers with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, and that is a very cocky young team. And this Joel Embiid is to me, is probably my most hated player, taking the place of LeBron James as my most hated player.
I watch a little of the Celtics against the Pacers, and that's about all I could handle. It's ugly. There's no beauty to it. You know what I watched the other night? That was fantastic. I was clicking around it, and I did one of those 30 for 30s with the New York Knicks of the 69 to 73 era.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
With Dave DeBusschere and Earl the Pearl and Clyde Frazier and one of my favorite players of all time, Willis Reed. The guy was half dead and he's crawling out on the floor, and he scores the first 3 baskets of the game, and that's the last he played.
Former Senator Bill Bradley.
Bill Bradley.
That was a extremely intellectual team.
What beautiful.
Yeah.
Watching it 40 years later, 50 years later, the teamwork and how they moved the ball, it was so much better than watching a basketball we get today, because all they do is they set up for 3 and shoot it.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. But somebody said to me before, no matter what generation you come from, everything's always better when you were a kid.
Maybe.
You know, like you and me were in the 60s, your folks, would have been in the 30s, 40s,
Well, I still think the best basketball was Bird and Magic.
Yep, I agree.
I think that was really, really good. I don't think the basketball's ever been as good. I think the hockey is better today than it's ever
absolutely,
been.
it's great. But we always have this argument with Duke, our buddy Duke. College basketball to me is at the all-time worst.
It's terrible.
Absolutely horrendous. And they're going to try to resolve that issue by letting people not having to go to college for 1 year. But these one-and-doners have absolutely destroyed the game. And but you look back, late 80s, early 90s, when to me
that was great basketball.
Duke University, when they had Christian Laettner, Bobby Hurley, Grant Hill, it was the most hated team in the country.
Absolutely.
And
for good reason.
When it comes to sports, you're only looking for one thing: emotion. A fan has to have emotion. Whether they love these people or they hate them, you've got to get the fan hooked. And people hated Duke University, but it was such good basketball. Of course, when we were kids too, David, back in the mid-'60s for about 12, 13 years, UCLA winning year
they
after
were great
year
too.
after year with guys like Bill Walton and
we got to call it the freshman team. The freshman team was better than a lot of teams.
Good evening. You're on the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County. Hello.
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 Can you tell me what happened to Brock Holt? Did the Red Sox trade him, or is he injured?
Brock Holt?
He is still on the team, but they do have Michael Chavez. They had brought up from Pawtucket.
Brock Holt.
And caller, I can tell you, I'm not a.
I wish I had my phone. I'd look it up for you.
I'm not a Red Sox fan, so I'm not able to
You're
tell.
not a Red Sox fan?
Well, I'm a Washington National guy. My genesis is I was 10 years old, 11 years old. I ran home from Holy Angel School in 1969.
Are you a Yankee fan?
No, I was a Montreal Expo fan from the first game, April 1969. Fell in love with the Montreal Expos. And when I got my license when I was 16, I used to go up to Montreal all the time and loved the Expos. I was at their very last game back in 2004 and brought my wife with me. And now they moved to D.C., and I continue my love affair with the Washington Nationals. However, it's not the same as the Montreal Expos, because like a rainy day today, say they had a game today, and of course they had a roof. You just say, listen, I'm
Right.
doing nothing. Let's drive to Montreal with a roof and watch a Major League Baseball game. So I'm a National Leaguer through and through. I'm not all that much in love with American League Baseball. I do not like the designated hitter. Yeah, my guess is, if I had to take an educated guess, since Michael Chavez has been playing, is Holt is probably injured right now. And he is a fan favorite. Everybody does like
Oh,
Brock Holt.
yes,
He can
he can play anything.
That was right.
And he's good.
Any position he can
He's
play.
a good player.
Yeah. So how did you become a Red Sox fan?
Well, I'm a trader in our family. Everybody else is a Yankee fan.
Uh-oh.
Well, that happens.
But I was a Cleveland Indians fan until we moved to Vermont.
Oh, okay. And what year did you start? And I don't want to try to figure out how old you are, but what year were you when you became a Cleveland Indian fan?
When I became a Red Sox fan?
No, a Cleveland Indian fan.
Oh, 1948.
Okay. Okay, so I'm trying to think of Herb Score was a pitcher
All
back.
summer long, I stayed in the house listening to the radio.
Yeah, the good old days.
My dad took us to Cleveland to a ball game. He always wanted to see Bob Feller pitch.
Yep.
Every time they went up there, he wasn't pitching.
Now,
But we had a good time, and they had 3-2 beer.
was Johnny Sane on that team as well? Or am I thinking of another team?
You're thinking of the
No, there was-
Braves.
The Braves.
Lou Boudreau,
Yep.
Dale Mitchell,
Yeah, okay. Was
Mickey Vernon.
Ted Kluszewski? Was
No, he was a Red.
he was a Red. He had the biggest arms in
Right.
baseball. Yeah, okay. How about Herb Score?
Oh, my favorite player was Larry Doby.
Larry Doby, yeah.
Yeah, he was the first or second African American ball player to play. Jackie Robinson started in April 50 years ago, I think, and just 3 weeks later in May, Larry Doby played with the
Yeah, I was
Cleveland
so
Indians.
happy when he got into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, wore jersey number 14 and actually was a coach for one of the very early Montreal Expo teams. Yeah, good man.
Okay, well, thank you.
Well, thank you for
Thanks
sharing
for calling
the
and
memories.
call again.
Pardon?
Call again.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See, I like, though, I bet she's got a lot of great stories.
Oh.
That I can sit down and listen to 7 days a week. So,
No, we were talking. Now, the other sports, I think the best football teams, the last really great football team, well, you got to give the Patriots credit, but the last really great football team before that, I think, was the Dallas Cowboys of Emmitt Smith
right.
and
And
those
what
guys.
killed that team is free agency.
Well, and the fact that Jones got rid of
B. Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson, that was dumb.
Yeah. We may have a call here, David. So, while he talks, so Duke comes back next Wednesday. So do we have a call?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening. You will be our last caller tonight on Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County. Hello.
How do you know?
Fitzy,
You don't all be
because
the last caller.
I know.
Well, we only have about 5 minutes
right.
left.
I know all. Now, Brock
Right.
Holt.
Two things.
Brock
Herb
Holt.
Score was long after Dolby and Dale
Okay.
Mitchell and all those guys. Herb was later on in the years. Got
Okay.
hit right between the eyes with a fastball.
Yep.
With a batted ball.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Who was the
Remember when that
McDowell?
happened?
Sam McDowell pitched for the Indians too.
That
He
back,
was good.
back in the 60s, slinging Sammy McDowell.
Score was late 60s, 70s.
Yeah. Now, Fitzy.
The other thing is, what was it you were talking about with this lady a minute ago?
Brock Holt.
Brock Holt.
He's been on the injured list.
Okay.
He's been injured. He's doing rehab right now.
Okay. And when do you expect him back?
I think they said 4 or 5 more days.
Okay. Right. And that's
He would
why
be back.
Chavez has been playing, right?
Pardon?
Michael Chavez has been
He
playing.
was called up to cover for him.
Yeah.
What
Hit a home run
about
last night.
Pedroia? What's the scoop with him?
He's working out too, still testing the knee. He's not going to make it. I don't know why they keep fooling around with it.
Well, he's got such a huge contract, Fitz. I think he gets about $14 million a year.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
But the Red Sox are. I hope Cora was pleased with his smartness of not playing these kids in the spring. I like you're saying, Nighthawk. You can not win a pennant in the spring, but you certainly can lose one.
Right. You can't win
No
a
reason
pennant
to
in
save
April.
these guys to the playoffs.
Yeah.
They may not get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So Mr. Cora, who thought he was quite smart with winning the pennant with the best team in history, seems like he fouled up things this spring a little bit.
Oh,
See
and
ya.
don't think that the press in Boston won't remind him either.
Yeah, they will. They will. See you guys.
Bye, Fitzy.
Thanks,
Bye.
Fitzy.
I think Fitzy was just trying to prove that there can be another phone caller. So I've got 4 minutes left.
And in baseball, of course, what would you say the best era for baseball is?
Well, again, everything for me is better than when I was a kid. When I was an Expo fan, I had remember the little Japanese transistor radios?
I had one. I'd listen to the Yankee games.
I every night I'd listen to Dave Van Horn and Russ Taylor and listen to the Expos night after night after night. And of course, their first season, they had a record of 52 wins and 110 losses. So you really had to be a real baseball fan.
Let's see. Who were good teams? Cincinnati Reds.
Back in the 70s,
I'd say the Yankees
were
of the
good.
2000, 98 to 2000, or 96 to 2003 or 4.
Yep.
Those were really good teams.
What's put a real blemish for me, David, on football is I used to love kickoff returns.
Yeah, they don't even.
And 50% of the balls now literally are touchbacks, and you barely can get back to the 25-yard line, or if you take the knee, you automatically
Well,
go there.
have they ever said what the percentage is of injuries? Because I think that's what because I think in kickoffs, you've got a lot of injuries.
There were a lot of injuries, and of course, you're running at top speed and all that.
Oh, and those guys are fast and strong, and they kill each other.
Exactly. And, who knows? I think it's a matter of time they eliminate kickoffs and just automatically put on the 25. And down the road, I can see punts will be 40 yards down the field. Say you're on the 10-yard line, it's going to be at midfield.
It's not politically correct to hurt anybody today.
Yeah. So I want to ask you a question. I was saying, Duke was at Hilton Head last week. So he was
Who
there.
won that anyway?
All 4 rounds he was there. So that was my question to you. The winner was
Was that Chinese guy?
C.T. Pan,
Yes.
who I've never even heard of. He beat Matt Kuchar. Okay. So my question was, who the heck is C.T. Pan?
I have no idea.
Yeah. So when you see Duke next week, I'm sure he's going to give you a good travel log of what occurred. So
Boy, the scores weren't that high. The weather looked tough there.
the weather was bad. Yeah. Yeah. So we got about a minute and a half to go. So David, will you be sitting at home watching the NFL draft tomorrow night?
I may watch a little bit, but
What else could influence you not to watch it?
well, I've never been a big fan of it because I can't stand all the hype and all the hoopla. But I will be interested to see what happens, especially the first 5 or 6 picks.
Yeah. My guess is you'll probably watch till the 17th pick, the Giants' second first-round pick. Then you'll.
Well, what I usually do, I watch about 3 shows at once anyways. Like,
Okay.
I'm watching the Red Sox, I'm watching the hockey games, I'm watching the Yankees if they're on, I'm watching maybe an old movie. You never know.
And that's the competition. If you're a Boston Bruin fan tomorrow night, Game 1 against Columbus,
You aren't going to be watching the Red Sox.
You're not going to be watching the NFL draft.
no, you're gonna watch the Bruins.
You're in the second round and you've got a good chance making it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So, David, that's it. So I appreciate the time we spent together. I will see you, like the song by The Happenings, 1965. I'll see you in September.
Well, you'll see me before that. I
So
bet.
hopefully I will. So for Zach, Super Dave, I'm the Nighthawk. And remember, folks, you do not have to be a great athlete to be a good sport. We'll see you next week.